When President Donald Trump walked into the Kennedy Center, he wasn't just arriving as a guest, he was arriving as a president with a mandate from the American voters. And that's exactly why Washington's cultural elites are outraged. Because the Kennedy Center isn't just a venue, it's a symbol. It's where a small, unelected class gets to decide what is acceptable culture and who is excluded. Trump's presence shatters the illusion that this place belongs to them. This backlash isn't about art or etiquette, it's about power. And an elite cultural class realizing they no longer control the country in a way that they used to. In this video, we're breaking down why the Kennedy Center matters and why this moment exposes the real front line of the culture war. So by now, you've seen the outrage from the left over the renaming of the Kennedy Memorial Center, now the Donald Trump John Kennedy Memorial Center. You've seen the outrage from the media, the politicians on the left, everyone on the left, the Kennedy family. And you've seen the way that it's being reported. And the way that it's being reported tells you a lot about how this affects them personally.
The Trump Kennedy Center, that's the name now listed on the website for the iconic performing arts center in the nation's capital, after the White House says the board that President Trump handpicked voted unanimously to rename the memorial.
And the way it's being reported, really with a negative slant towards President Trump, which is what they always do, tells you everything you need to know about the media.
Voted unanimously to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. And I was surprised by it. I was honored by it. You know, we're saving the building. We saved the building. The building was in such bad shape, both physically, financially, and every other way. And now it's very solid, very strong.
The president ousted most of the previous board members and the new ones installed him as chairman after he criticized the Kennedy Center's programming as too liberal, while also launching $250 million worth of congressionally authorized renovation.
So you have criticism here of Donald Trump removing the board from the Kennedy Center and installing his own people that align with his vision and his values. And to me, that makes complete and total sense. If he's going to renovate the Kennedy Center and try to make it more to where it serves actual American people as a whole and appeals to more people rather than just entertainment venue for rich and elite people in Washington, D.C. that want to see liberal programming, stuff that doesn't appeal to the average American. And I think Donald Trump wants to make it a place for everyone and have shows there that the majority of Americans would appreciate and enjoy rather than just small group of liberals. We've seen that over and over for many years in the entertainment industry where they've just ruined a lot of things for people and people just aren't interested anymore. So Trump wants to return the Kennedy Center to something that represents America and Americans better. And why would he keep a bunch of liberals on the board who are going to fight him on everything he wants to do? So of course he's going to replace them, install his own people. And to me, that just makes perfect sense. And I don't understand the criticism of that at all, but you know, they've got hurt feelings over that, I guess.
A series of Kennedy family members voicing their opposition, including JFK's grandson, who's running for Congress in New York, and called the move branding over policy.
It does
Democrat.
nothing for families choosing between prescription drugs and paying their rent.
It also has nothing to do with families choosing between paying prescription drugs or their rent. These are two completely different things that have nothing to do with each other. So, you know, that's not much of an argument. If he's running for office, he needs to get some better script writers because that wasn't a very effective line, I didn't think.
One of JFK's grandnephews, former Democratic Congressman Joe Kennedy, writing, quote, "The Kennedy Center is a living memorial to a fallen president and named for President Kennedy by federal law. It can no sooner be renamed than can someone rename the Lincoln Memorial."
Okay, now that's a much better argument. That makes perfect sense to me, what he's saying, and you can debate that. That seemed like a logical stance to take. So I appreciate the statement from Joe Kennedy a lot more than, his cousin, I guess. But yeah, that's something you could actually have a discussion about. Is it appropriate to rename a memorial that was meant for President Kennedy? And, that's up for debate. Everyone's going to have different opinions about that, but at least he makes a logical argument.
We don't need woke at the Kennedy Center. We don't need, some of the shows were terrible. They're a disgrace that they were even put on.
Donald Trump took control, appointing loyalists to the Kennedy Center board, something well within his power, while also making himself the new chair. What is unusual? He got rid of people who don't share what he calls his vision for a golden age in arts and culture. A shift alarming those who've seen this kind of thing before.
Okay, so you've seen them, equating this to dictators who want to put their name on everything. That's where they're going with this. This is typical media stuff. Of course, he's going to appoint new people. As I said, why keep people that don't align with you? He wants to change the direction of the Kennedy Center away from the crazy liberal stuff and more of a mainstream America appeal. And I think a lot of people want that. Look, Donald Trump won the popular vote and he ran on a lot of these things. And that's what he's doing, and he has every right to do so. So getting rid of those people is perfectly fine. And if they decide to put his name on there, that's the decision they made. It has nothing to do with being a dictator, which is what they always try to say. So the Democrats are really melting down over this. The sacred name of John F. Kennedy and the sacred memorial of John F. Kennedy not to be tarnished in any way. But Fox News had a pretty interesting take on all this, and I thought they brought up a really good point about the Democrats.
Voted to change the name of the Kennedy Center by adding President Trump's name to the Kennedy Center. And as you might imagine, Democrats had something of a freak out about it. Watch this.
We, the American people, are not going to call the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center.
That's a sacrilege to a martyred, heroic, historic American president.
If this guy goes unchecked, we'll be soon hauling out the statue of Abraham Lincoln to have a gold statue of Donald Trump.
These people are suddenly all concerned about vandalism. Where were they back in the summer of love when you had their voters tearing down statues, painting real graffiti, destroying things, and putting up monuments to a druggy criminal, George Floyd? Where was their concern back then when this was going on?
Yeah, that's a great point that they make about look at all the statues that were destroyed, and it was cheered by the liberals and the Democrats when these statues were destroyed. What about those people and the memorials to those people and to their families? Did anybody raise an argument on the left about that? Did anybody say this is wrong? No, they didn't. They said those monuments, those statues need to go. They should never have been there in the first place. So if it's someone that represents their values, they protect it, and if it's someone that doesn't align with their values, they want it destroyed. And, George Floyd, a perfect example. Most Americans don't want to see any kind of statue erected in the memory of George Floyd. But to liberals, of course, he's a hero. So it's just a vast difference of principle and morality between the Democrats and the Republicans on these issues. But they also point out that this is a little bit of a part of the war, the culture war that Donald Trump is playing with the Democrats, and he's pretty good at poking them in the eye at every chance and getting an extreme reaction from them, usually way over the top reaction in regards to what they're reacting about, and he's done it again.
Yeah, it's such a great point. It's also a good point. I mean, Trump is the ultimate troll. I mean, he didn't just
He is.
rename it, and put his name in it. He put his name before Kennedy. He put his name before Kennedy. Yeah, he probably wants his name on it because he said, I am the one renovating it. But make no mistake, he's enjoying all these heads exploding.
Yeah, there was one guy that's just a resident of D.C. I was watching on another channel that said he was standing in front of it, looking at it and saying, democracy has died. Yeah. It's like, okay, so you may not have supported Donald Trump for president, and you may not like the fact that he's trying to revamp the Kennedy Center for Arts and make it better than ever, and has instituted an entire new board to try and move it in that direction. But it's not the death of democracy.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you see the reaction from the liberals is always to destroy or attack something that they don't agree with. And that's what they did. They destroyed many statues and memorials across the country. And here's a case where Donald Trump, he didn't destroy the Kennedy Center. He didn't tear it down. He's making it better. He's putting money into it. He's making improvements to it. And he put his name on it, or the board did, with John F. Kennedy. So he hasn't taken anything away. He hasn't destroyed anything. He's actually made improvements. So he took something that he didn't agree with, and he made it better. And he's changing the direction and make it more, reflect more of what America and Americans appreciate and will get out of the Kennedy Center. People are going to get more out of the Kennedy Center by making it appealing to the average American rather than just a few rich people in the D.C. area that try to tell us what is acceptable and what's not acceptable in our culture and in our entertainment. And people getting tired of that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump said it's time to change it, and it starts with the Kennedy Center. And I think it's a great move. Hakeem Jeffries, he had a little bit of a outrage moment, and he's challenging the legality of the changing of the name of the Kennedy Center. But he was pretty vicious in his attack on Republicans and Trump supporters in particular.
These are sick people. Something is really wrong with these folks. And here's the final thing. They don't have the power to do it. Only Congress can rename the Kennedy Center. The wannabe king and his sycophantic minions can't do it.
The king was elected.
But they're going to create a spectacle across the country, and everybody's going to chase this story. But how does that actually help the American people? Good housing, good health care, good education for your children, and a good retirement. And that's what Democrats are going to continue to fight to achieve for every single American.
Along with lots of crime, drugs, and illegal immigration.
And these are individuals right now who are bending the knee to a loser. The Republicans are losers.
Republicans are losers.
Why are you bending the knee at this point in time? It's not clear to you that, as Michael Ray Richardson, the great former New York Knick, once said, the ship be sinking?
The ship be sinking. You're going to quote somebody, I don't know, maybe pick someone who speaks properly.
It's over. This is the Titanic. I don't get it. I really don't understand the situation.
One of the things that Donald Trump really first mentioned and got people's attention back in 2015 when he was running for president the first time was the idea that the American people are tired of woke ideology and political correctness. And Donald Trump really ran on the idea of putting an end to a lot of that nonsense. And a lot of that is part of this culture war that involves the entertainment industry as well, and just American culture as a whole. And it's been an important part of his platform, and he's talked about it ever since he first ran for president the very first time. And people know very well, where Donald Trump stands on those issues, and he still talked about it up to the 2024 election and talks about it to this day. So he was elected in a big way by the American people and also winning the popular vote. So I think the American people are with him on this, and a culture war is something that's very important to Donald Trump and a big part of his presidency.
The radical ideology attacking our country advances under the banner of social justice. But in truth, it would demolish both justice and society. It would transform justice into an instrument of division and vengeance, and it would turn our free and inclusive society into a place of repression, domination, and exclusion. Their goal is not a better America. Their goal is to end America.
We're at a strange time in American history, and if we didn't have President Trump at this time and this place in history, this battle may have already been lost. And he gives us a chance. He gives the American people a chance to turn this around and fight this strange enemy that we have had thrust upon us in recent years that a lot of people don't even understand. What is the objective? Why do they want to destroy our society and destroy our culture and destroy our identity as Americans? To a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. But thankfully, Donald Trump is in the White House, and this is an important fight to him. And, you know, he's going at him full strength.
Never allow an angry mob to tear down our statues, erase our history, indoctrinate our children, or trample on our freedoms. We will safeguard our values, traditions, customs, and beliefs.
News Nation had Bill O'Reilly on as a guest, and he talked about the, of course, selective outrage from the mainstream media and all of the Democrats, people on the left, and kind of talked more about, you know, where this is coming from and what this is all about, what their motivations really are. They're not really so concerned about the Kennedy Center or the legacy of John F. Kennedy. What they're concerned about is protecting their grasp on culture in America.
Well, in the bureaucratic sense, he's not going to succeed. But in the cultural sense, there's a just savage war going on right now. And Trump is doing a lot of damage. Ultimately, it's impossible to predict whether the leftist media will go back to where it was. But right now, it's on the run and paying out, as you mentioned, an enormous amount of money to President Trump for past indiscretions. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about Kimmel. And I said this last week on News Nation, that this Kimmel suspension and then reinsertment into the ABC lineup wasn't what the press was reporting. It had nothing to do with freedom of speech at all. And the Journal today lays out what I said last week, is that the talent agencies in Los Angeles, all left-wing, 100%, threatened Disney and Bob Iger and said, if you don't put Kimmel back on the air, a lot of our clients not going to do business with you. That means you're not going to get actors and producers and writers and directors. We'll take it to another studio. Iger surrendered on the spot. And then Kimmel went back. Now, think about that. Think about the power that the left in Hollywood has to bring a company like Disney to its knees. Not that Disney was that resistant.
So does that mean Trump's succeeding or not?
It's a world company, too.
I mean, yeah, that's amazing to think about. The liberals have taken over Hollywood 100%. If you're not a liberal in Hollywood, it's very hard for you to even work. And if you're a company like Disney, which, you know, hey, I'm no fan of Disney, modern day Disney. Nobody is really on the right. But you take a company like Walt Disney and you think about what an American institution it has been, for them to be able to bring the Disney Corporation to their knees and do what they tell them to do. That's pretty astonishing if you think about that. It shows you that they completely, almost 100% control the film and television industry and also the news media.
These people, movie studios, television studios, they're so powerful that I think they're treading water now. They don't want to go up against Trump. Trump can hurt them, all right, directly hurt them. But once he's gone in 3 years, they'll reassert themselves. And I think that's what's happening.
Is the country better off for this fight happening, or would it be better off if we had a president fighting and spending 100% of his time on the issues you've talked about on this program as ultimately real risks to Trump? The economy, and you've talked about how Russia is a huge risk for Trump, and so far he has not found success in that either.
So what he's asking is this fight worth it? And I say yes, 100% it's worth it, and it really is one of the most important fights, I think, that Donald Trump has taken on. When you think about our history, our culture, our future, just the way we think of ourselves as Americans, the way our country is represented, I think this culture war that Donald Trump is fighting with these people may be the most important battle that he's up against, and it really spills over into many areas of our life. So I think it's extremely important. So let's hear a little bit more from the Democrats and why this is so bad for America.
Happened less than 24 hours after a Trump-aligned board voted to rename the institution.
It was very fast.
That is not all, folks. Last week, the
letters
Interior
were ready to
Department
go.
unveiled a National Parks Pass with Trump's face on it. There it is. And the Treasury Department has announced proposals for a $1 coin with Donald Trump's face on it. Joining us now, New York Times opinion columnist David French and staff writer at The New Yorker, Susan
Sounds like she's
Glasser.
not in favor. If any of those things that she just mentioned featured a photo of Barack Obama, there would be no complaints at all from any of them. So this is just a matter of what side of the aisle are you on. And you can usually tell that with almost everything they say. If you replace Donald Trump with Barack Obama, you realize they wouldn't even be upset at all. If they decided to name this the Barack Obama John F. Kennedy Center, they wouldn't have any complaint. They would say it was a wonderful thing, immortalizing two great presidents, in their opinion.
Welcome to the North Koreaization of the United States. I mean, this is even, frankly, in a lot of dictatorships, there's less of this kind of slapping of the dear leader's face all over everything while they're still alive than we're experiencing now in Washington. I will tell you that having written a book on Donald Trump in his first term, it's not a total shocker, even though he didn't do this in his first term. What I have been thinking a lot about as we see images like this really shocking image at the Kennedy Center today is a visit that the French president Emmanuel Macron made during Trump's first term. He came to visit the White House. When they went for dinner at Mount Vernon, George Washington's place right outside of Washington, Donald Trump was giving a tour of it to Macron, clearly wasn't all that familiar with it. He said, the thing I really don't understand is why George Washington didn't put his name on Mount Vernon. Why is it called Mount Vernon? He should have called it, George Washington's estate or whatever. And I've been thinking a lot about that. This is Donald Trump. This is who he is. If you don't slap your name on it, it might as well not exist.
Reason number one is just exactly what was said. Then reason number two, I think, is underestimated in this calculus. They also very much like to make Donald Trump's opponents angry. They like to troll. They like to provoke. And so they get a twofer out of this. They get to inflate Donald Trump's ego at the same time that they essentially are giving the middle finger to the rest of America.
So a little bit of both sides' reaction on the new Trump Kennedy Center name. What do you guys think? Is this going to be something that has legal standing? Is Congress going to have to get involved? Maybe this is not an official name change, but it's something that they can do by just keeping the name on the building, maybe using it in the advertisement for the center without an official government name change. I don't know. Maybe that's the way that they can get around that. Will Congress get involved? Will the name be changed back? Or will it be made permanent? What do you guys think about all that? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.